Hi guys, it's me Anne from Geeks of Green, and today I will show you a few plants that I got for free. Now these aren't gifts that have been given to me by my close friends or my relatives. These are plants that have been foraged from the wild. Of course, some of these cuttings are gifts, but as I show you each one of them, I will tell you the story that goes behind them, and I hope we have a lot of fun in this video. I also want to quickly remind you about the giveaway for this month that has been sponsored by Plantastic Sunny, and he has sent us 3 beautiful vases which are very classy. You can use them for water propagation of your cuttings, and you can use them as decor for your home as well. If you want to win these, go and check out the description down below. The rules are all there, and don't forget to participate. This here is a pot full of portulaca, which I foraged from the garden that is there right opposite my balcony. It was just growing wild. I had done a video of this sometime back, and I have foraged them multiple times. This one here is the portulaca oleracea, and this one is the grandiflora. Okay, so this oleracea is also called the common purslane, and so it's a pot of portulaca. I've mixed the cuttings up, and portulaca, they're quite common, and they're found growing practically everywhere. And the flowers are very pretty and so colorful, and they bloom in the day and they wilt in the night. So they're just a day. The flowers just bloom for a single day, and as you can see, some of these blooms have closed up completely. And right now, there are two of these over here, which will also close up by the end of the day. So this is quite a cute plant, and you see them growing everywhere. Now the story about this plant is that uh, it always grows wildly in that garden right in front of our balcony, and the gardener usually just plucks it away. After the rains, he will just clear out the entire plant and he will throw away all those plants, and then it grows back up. Now the portulaca oleracea is a weed that keeps coming back. But this grandiflora is a more ornamental one, which I have a feeling somebody has planted over there. So I did ask the Mali permission. I said, "Can you give me a cutting or two? Because these plants are extremely easy to propagate. You just pluck a stem out and poke it in a pot of soil, and it takes root. So it's very easy to propagate, and it doesn't do the main plant any harm if you pluck a few stalks off." So the gardener was more than gracious to hand over these cuttings to me, and yes, I will be growing them. You also get these plants in nurseries. You can go and pick a pot for quite cheaper price. They won't charge you much for this, but it's a very satisfying plant, and it keeps blooming and blooming and blooming without much. Uh, it doesn't need much attention as well. The only thing is you need a good bright sunlight and water it frequently, fertilize it often, and the plant is happy. But remember, it's a mealybug magnet, and every time I've kept it, it has somehow attracted mealybugs. So that is one thing you need to keep an eye out for. Otherwise, it's a quite pretty plant with really dainty blooms. The difference between the grandiflora and the oleracea is that the oleracea has these pinkish stems and fattish leaves, where the grandiflora has these thin needle-like leaves, and the flowers are more robust. These flowers are more delicate petal flowers. These are multiple petals. So that's the difference. The needs are the same. That's why I poked them in one pot, and I had a few cuttings. So that's it. One pot was enough for them. They will grow, and then I can probably propagate them into other pots as well. So this here is the hypostes, the polka dot plant. Now I had been to Mahabaleshwar in 2019, and at that time I remember seeing these plants growing at the roadside, just growing wild. So I was quite thrilled to see a plant that we see being sold in our nurseries growing so freely in the wild. And at that time, I was in a hurry. I didn't have time to stop the car and pull out a few cuttings. But my sister-in-law went in this time and she got a few of these cuttings from Mahabaleshwar. And I feel that's quite a pretty plant. And again, this is again a magnet for pests, so you have to keep an eye out for the pests on these plants as well. Now, if you look at the polka dot plant, the leaves have these speckles like paint has been splashed over them, and they're quite cute. This one's in pink, you get red and white also. And these speckles become darker in low light conditions rather than in bright light. So, if you want your leaves to be spotted and pink, then you keep it in a low light condition, not in direct light. Definitely, the leaves will crisp up if it's in direct light. But the one thing that might happen in low light conditions is the plant will become leggy. So, you need to give it a balance of bright and direct light, and that's how this plant will be happy. It's already it came, I think, a month ago, and it's been throwing new leaves, so it's been growing quite well. All this is new growth, and the speckles are less on the new leaves, but I think they will form as they grow. And that's how this plant is. It's quite a pretty plant. This is another one that we acquired from the wild. Now this one is my alocasia cucullata, the Buddha's hand plant, which I had foraged from my brother's society. Now it was growing in a pile of debris, cement, and waste, which the gardener would have simply cleared off. So we asked the Mali and asked him if he can give us a cutting or a plant that was just growing wild and would have been thrown into the garbage. So he agreed happily and he gave us a plant, and it's been growing ever since. The only thing is that it has been attracting pests like spider mites. So there was a spider mite infestation which is going down now, and you can see there is a lot of new leaves coming. Now the leaves were not so small, the leaves will become bigger as I continue to treat this plant and I keep it in a bright spot where it gets good indirect bright light and enough humidity. Now in the rains it's going to grow more. So this is my alocasia cucullata, and I think it needs a little bit more attention. You can see that some leaves are still having some spider mites, so I will be trimming those off, getting rid of the spider mites and treating this plant. Now this again, when the leaves are big, I'll show you the footage of how the leaves were back then, and it looked really regal and nice, and the leaves grow really tall as well. So it's a good plant to have. You get it in nurseries as well, and always keep your eyes open for plants growing in the wild, plants that are not taken care of. And there are some plants that you will find that are such treasures that will be with you for a very long time and that will give you a lot of joy. So this is one of my favorites, Alocasia cucullata. And it doesn't go dormant as much as the other alocasias do. So I feel this is a more hardy kind of an alocasia. So if you're looking at keeping any alocasias, this is a good plant to go with. Okay, this here is a syngonium podophyllum that I had taken a small cutting from when I was in Mahabaleshwar. That was in 2019. And I had taken it because I liked the way the leaflets were, the arrowhead was so exaggerated, and I liked it. It's just a syngonium podophyllum, a very common plant. I have to give it a moss bowl. I've been very lazy and I've been putting that back for the longest time. So as soon as this video is over, probably over the weekend, I will try and give it a moss bowl and keep it happy. This plant had gone down to its last leaf because it was in a spot where it was not getting space to climb and grow. Then finally I moved it to my bedroom dry area. That's where it started getting all its leaves back. So the leaves have all started coming back. They are different when they have come back. You can see this new plant here down looks like any other syngonium. The leaflets, the arrowhead is not so exaggerated, but the ones at the top are slightly more exaggerated. So they are quite cute. I like this plant, and I will give it a moss bowl and keep it happier than I have been keeping it. So this is another plant that I took from a cutting. Of course, I asked the Mali, at the guest room, and she was happy to oblige. She also gave me some nasturtiums. I had made a video of those, but they didn't survive. The nasturtiums didn't survive. Yeah, this is what survived, and it's been growing. So I'm quite happy with this plant. This is a plant that I got from the wild for absolutely no money, just a cutting. This one here is the syngonium podophyllum again, and this is not a juvenile plant, so you can see the leaf has completely changed, and you can see so many leaflets. There are, I think, around 7 to 8 leaflets. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Around 8 leaflets in one stem like this. It's like very interesting looking. So now what happened is a tragedy happened when I tried to get this plant out. So it was sitting right there in the back of my balcony in the corner where it was just growing happily and undisturbed. But today I got it out for the video, and I managed to break off the main stem, and that was because the leaves, there were too many leaves on it and it had gotten too heavy and I hadn't given it a moss stick. So that is my mistake, and I know that for sure because it's got so many aerial roots and it's a very healthy cutting. This cutting is going to root very quickly, but I do have to give it some support and a moss pole so that the plant is able to stand up and grow properly. Okay, so this is how the plant looks. It's a beautiful plant. It's got a lot of leaves. It's a healthy plant, and it just needs to be rooted now. The main cutting. This is the main stem, and this is the second cutting that broke off. So yeah, it's an interesting plant. Now this plant I got from my brother's society. It was growing on a tree and the mali was trimming it, and my brother asked for a cutting. He gave it to him happily, and we planted it and it has rooted and it has been growing so beautifully. So this is another beautiful syngonium that I really like. This plant here is the Peperomia pellucida, and I feel it's the cutest weed and it grows happily. Now, there's a story behind this. I'm really excited to have this one because I remember seeing it growing by the roadside, and I'm this person who will sit and admire the weeds as well. So I always pick up and pull out weeds, and I embarrass my husband a lot when I go about with him. So I had seen these peperomia plants growing by the wayside. I didn't know they were peperomia pellucidas then, but I did pluck some of the plants and bring it home, and then I forgot to pot it, and they died. So they were always in my mind, and I was really sad that I lost them. I had these little cute plants, and I wanted to know what they were and all that and all that. So now what happened one fine day is my sister-in-law's aunt, Lavi auntie, thank you for this plant so much. She happened to pass it on to my brother to give it to me, and I was so thrilled to have it. I was so happy to have it because this is the plant that I was eyeing, and my brother knows me very well. So he remembered that I wanted this plant and he got a pot full of it. You can see how it grows so profusely. It's filling up the pot and it's just growing and filling, and it's got this happy look about it. So I really like it. I know many of you will consider it to be a weed, and it may be a weed, but it is so pretty and I like it. So that's why I keep it. And yeah, this is a Peperomia pellucida. Really happy to have this one. This one's a Tradescantia pallida, purple heart plant, you call it, because of the color. It's brilliantly purple. And I had found a little stalk which multiplied and multiplied, has filled so many pots, so many places in my house. It's bringing a nice bright purple color to it, to my home decor, to my plants, because I have mostly foliage green plants. So this purple adds a little bit of color. This is another plant that has just been giving and giving and giving, and I've been putting it in pretty planters and it's been looking so good. So this is a great plant to have if you're thinking of hardy plants that won't trouble you at all. And I've never had any pests on this, though I've had them on my wandering Jew. I've not had it on this particular Tradescantia. So it's a wonderful plant to have. And the story of this, I've shown it to you multiple times, but I still cannot stop myself from showing it to you again, because this is one among the plants that I never liked before, because probably I considered it very common. But I've changed that mindset and attitude now, and I appreciate a plant for what it is. because that's how I think we should appreciate plants. So this is a very pretty plant, and I'm happy with it. So I just got a cutting of it, a small piece of it, on the ground below, just in front of my building. It must have fallen from somebody's pot or someone's plant. I picked it up and I poked it in soil, and it just multiplied and grew. I never expected it to, and I thought that under, uh, with less light in the northern exposure of my balcony, it won't be as purple, but it's happy with this kind of light, with bright and direct light. It's doing well, it's growing, and it's still purple. It's a bright, nice purple color. So this is a good plant to have if you have no qualms about having common plants and things like that. It's a very pretty plant to have. This giant here, I'm sure some of you remember because you all DM'd me that you remember about it. This huge fellow is a Tomatophyllum bipennatifidum, previously known as the philodendron bipennatifidum, commonly known as the tree philodendron. So we'll just call it the tree philodendron for now. And this beautiful plant was a cutting. I'll put clips of the video that I had recorded when I had potted this fellow. And since then, he has grown so beautifully. I mean, he's really happy where I've kept him. That is in my mother-in-law's house, which is right above my house. And it's just throwing new leaves and growing and growing and growing. I can't tell you how much he has spread. He leans on the grill of her small little balcony, and it just is growing. It's happy. It's got its space, and it's really, really thrilled. So this cutting is doing really well, and the leaves are growing quite big, and I'm in love with this plant. When I go up there, I sit and I just enjoy staring at this plant because we got it from one of our friends, Bonnie. And I really thank him for giving this cutting because I didn't know that it would do so well and it would thrive so beautifully. Thank you so much for this cutting. So I originally do not know how Bonnie got his hands on this cutting, but he told me that it was from a wild plant that somebody got a cutting from, and they didn't know what to do with it, so they passed it on to us, and we were more than happy to take it in, and I'm really thrilled about it. So I also remember seeing a story by Plants of the Shade that uh, some Mali was cutting off the bipennatifidum cuttings and they were just going to burn it and throw it away. So he grabbed those cuttings and probably he potted them, and I don't know, he gave it a home or something like that. So I feel I wouldn't ever let such a cutting go to waste. I mean, it's a very gorgeous plant, and for those who are gardeners would understand the value of such plants. So yeah, I love this plant, and it is just beautiful, and it continues to grow without any pest problems, without any issues at all. Very hardy, very good plant to keep. If you're looking for a plant for a big space, this is something that you can go for. It's not as expensive as your monsteras and all that, but it has its presence and it's a beautiful plant. I hope you really enjoyed this video because I sure did. I spoke from my heart because these plants mean a lot to me, and each one has a different bond with me because of the way I have acquired these plants. And if you like the video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Also, do subscribe to this channel, hit the notification icon for notifications of videos. And I hope to see you soon in another video. Till then, stay green.